Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel and the Scouting for United series, where you guys know by now it's the series where we take a look at a load of different players from around Europe and discuss whether or not they would be a good potential move for Manchester United in the future. And recently I've seen comments on certain videos asking for a scout report on Olise with uncertainty around the right wing spot at Manchester United. So here it is today. Analysis on Michael Olise, the French under-21 international and the Crystal Palace number 7. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFIFA.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFIFA for 10% off when you order. So we will start off with a sort of basic FB ref report here. Now the thing you need to consider when looking at this sort of report, or really any sort of statistic for a footballer, you need to consider the environment they're playing in, the position they're playing in, the football club they're playing in, the tactics used where they're playing, all of those sorts of things. Because it's quite easy to look at these numbers, and say, progressive passes, a little bit disappointing. Progressive carries, a little bit disappointing. Successful take-ons, a little bit disappointing. But what you have to consider is that he plays for Crystal Palace. Now, I mean no disrespect by this, but Crystal Palace aren't a great side. Roy Hodgson doesn't play attacking, possession-based football. We don't see someone like Olise getting the amount of touches which other players around Europe do. So his numbers are always going to be slightly reduced. Despite that, though, what we can see is that last season he still produced some very impressive numbers. Now the goal tally is a little bit low, a little bit concerning, we'll come back onto that later. But the assist tally is really good. In the Premier League last season, 11 assists in 37 matches. That is not bad at all. Again, for a side which doesn't perform particularly well in the Premier League and doesn't play the most attacking football, it's really impressive that Olise is able to produce these numbers. And it kind of gives us a hint of what he is as a footballer. And that is initially, of course, a right winger, but more so a creative right winger. Someone who really excels in creating chances for other people. He's not a goal-scoring winger, he's not an inside forward. He is a winger which wants to find passes into his teammates in dangerous areas, find crosses into his teammates, set up chances for other people. Now, one way in which he likes to do that is cutting inside onto his left foot. So he'll kind of receive the ball initially out wide, cut inside onto his left foot, and now he looks for this sort of pass, almost reverse pass a little bit, into the channel here. Looking for someone like, potentially, Rasmus Højlund to run onto. That could be a nice little dynamic. Let's say, for example, Olise starts wide, receives the ball from Bruno Fernandes. Olise starts cutting inside. As this happens, the right back overlaps, dragging the attention of the fullback. It then maybe opens up room for someone like Højlund to get into. And he does like to be very, very creative in the way that he plays. He also likes to be creative in the sense of getting crosses into the box. And in my opinion, Olise is up there with the best crossers in the Premier League at the moment. He really is a specialist in this area. He really excels in crossing the ball into the penalty area. But what I like the most is that he's not a one-trick pony in this way. It's not the same type of cross every time. For example, it's not just always a floated cross. He can float across towards the far post. He can kind of dink across towards the near post. He can fizz one hard and low across the box. He has a variety to the way in which he plays in terms of his final delivery into the box. And what we can see clearly from his assist numbers already is that it works for him. Now, some of these are from set pieces as well, because Olise is also a real set piece specialist. So it's another way in which he is very, very creative. This is a man who racks up the assists. He creates chances for other players. And it's reflected in his FB ref report. The 95th percentile for assists per 90 minutes. Which, again, remember, this is a guy playing for Crystal Palace who don't have all of the ball. Who don't play that, again, expansive attacking football. To be in the 95th percentile for assists is so impressive. Also the 86th percentile for key passes, which is incredible. The 87th percentile for crosses into the penalty area. The 91st percentile for switches. And the 98th percentile for crosses. These are numbers which really stand out to me as being potentially a top player. What I also like, though, is that because he's got that ability to play a variety of crosses into the final third, it means that he can make different decisions in the final third. And as a result, he does have pretty good decision making. He isn't the sort of player where if he gets into this position and sees there's no one in there, he doesn't still just pump the ball into the box. unlike certain players at Manchester United. I'm not going to name any names. But, Olise has much better decision making. If the ball into the box isn't on, he'll slow it down. And he might keep the ball, he might go backwards to a teammate. Or something else he might do is look to stand up his fullback and go 1 versus 1. Now, in terms of in this area, Olise isn't explosive. And that would be a slight concern of mine. He's not the quickest player in the world. He's not slow, but he's not going to tear up the pitch and really destroy a fullback in this way. Instead, he's more reliant on subtle movements, ball manipulation, but also manipulation of body positioning. He's got a really good stride length. He's got really good agility in his hips, allowing him to kind of quickly twist and turn to ultimately try and throw the opposition fullback off balance to give Olise the advantage, so then he can go past them. So you'll see him dropping a shoulder. You'll see him doing little bits, body feints, different skills. The idea always is, can I get my fullback just off balance so then I can beat him? That's what he looks to do. And it's from there that he then delivers into the box. And in general, he is a good dribbler, often looking to come inside onto his left foot, where he might then have a shot at goal. Now, this is where I will criticise him. We saw that his goal return last season wasn't very good, and he does shoot from unfavourable areas. It's not that he's a bad finisher. It's that he just takes shots from pretty daft positions at times. He likes to try shots from range, which it works here and there, and when it goes in, it looks super effective. But he isn't good enough at long range finishing to attempt it as much as what he does currently. So that's an area I would like to see him improve. I would also like to see him go on the outside a little bit more as well. Now, in this way, he is a little bit one-footed, a little bit like Anthony, but not as bad as Anthony. Anthony almost refuses to go down the line. Olise is very capable of going this way, going to the byline, and his cutbacks on his right foot are normally pretty good. So, again, in terms of Olise, he's kind of a player which I want to see a bit more of before I come to any real conclusion. Without doubt, he is a creative outlet. He's very good in the final third with his delivery into the box. His decision making is good. He's a good dribbler. He's a good ball carrier, and he is good in 1 versus 1 situations. Although, again, the lack of explosivity would be a slight concern, potentially. I do think the best wingers are explosive. However, it works for others which aren't. For example, Jack Grealish, for example, Kvaratskhelia, they get away with it, so Olise certainly could as well. In terms of how it would work from a tactical point of view if he was to move to the club, I think what we would see, and what we can see in his heat map here, is that he is someone who is happy to start wide and receive the ball wide into feet, which is often what Ten Hag demands of his wingers. We'll often see the fullbacks either deeper or more inverted. The winger starts wide, get the ball. From here, Olise 9 times out of 10, or maybe 8 times out of 10, wants to move inside onto his much stronger left foot. And again, that is reflected in his heat map. If you look at the position we've got him in now, and now look at this heat map, you can see where he wants to cut inside. He wants to cut into this area onto his left foot. Now, importantly, in that heat map, you can also see his ability to go down the line on the outside. It's just a side of his game I want to see a little bit more. But it could work from a tactical point of view. Again, if Olise is going to come inside into these areas, can your right back now get a bit higher, a bit wider, and provide the overlap to allow him to do so? Or could we maybe see someone like Bruno Fernandes rotating out wide, or Mason Mount as well could play a similar role? That could certainly work and allow Olise to move into these areas. But in terms of, in general, my overview of Olise, he's a player I'm not completely sold on just yet. I think he's really good. I think he's got so much potential. His assist numbers in a Crystal Palace side are crazy. They're off the charts. They're so good. I think is it the most ever assists for a Crystal Palace player in the Premier League? I might be incorrect with that, but I think it is. I think the previous best was 11, but don't quote me on that. So clearly we can see he's super creative. Very good in the final third. He's a good dribbler. My concerns are more over we haven't seen him in a system where he dominates the ball. And, that's not his fault. He's played at Crystal Palace, where we're never going to see that. So it just makes it at times a little bit hard to judge him. From my point of view, I'm happy he didn't move to Chelsea or City in the summer, because I think he needs that one more season in the Premier League at Crystal Palace before getting his big move. Because it gives us a chance to assess him over the next 12 months. See if he can take his game to that next level, add that little bit of unpredictability. If he does those things, I would certainly have him on the list as players that United should be looking at. Especially when you consider that also, he's really hard working. In terms of for Crystal Palace, he's right up there in terms of where he ranks for sprints per 90, recoveries per 90. We saw in his FBref report at the start that he does the defensive work. 81st percentile for tackles, 88th percentile for interceptions, 84th percentile for blocks. Now again, consider he's playing for a Crystal Palace side which do more defending than most teams, but still, from a defensive point of view in terms of the work rate, the mentality, it's a really good side to his game to have. He's also decent at pressing as well as a result of this work rate. He is happy to press high, put the effort in to kind of close players down. My concern would be more over kind of ironing out flaws and optimizing the way which he presses. He isn't someone at the moment who really has pressing angles locked down or the way you curve your run and things like that. But again, Palace don't focus on high pressing, so it is harsh to judge him in that way. Because we've seen the work rate, which is the first sign you need, maybe under a better manager, in a quote better team, you would see him improving in this way. So overall, he definitely has all the fundamentals to make it as a top winger in the Premier League, and I do think he will become that. It's just for me personally, I'm a little bit on the fence at the moment, just because I want to see him for one more season at Crystal Palace. Hopefully we get to see that now though. He can return from that injury which he sustained for the French under-21 side in the summer, return from that injury, get back in the team, he'll quickly get his starting spot back, get back to those assists. Can he add more goals to his game, improve his shot selection? Can he add a bit of unpredictability to the way that he dribbles? Can he go to the byline a little bit more? If he does those things, absolutely he should be on the list of right wingers that United look at next summer. But in terms of for today, where we are at the moment, I think that's all I have to say, for today's video. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.